Hello and welcome back to the Book Marketing Tips and Author Success Podcast. This is Penny Sansevieri and Amy Cornell. And today's show is actually going to be run by Amy because this was her idea, which was great. And we're going to start talking about our BFF, Jennifer Garner, even though she doesn't really know who we are, which sounds a little creepy. But Amy, talk us through, you came up with this idea for the summer break for young readers. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. And again, Jen Garner was kind of, I love how we have a nickname. We get to call her Jen.
We get to call her Jen, right.
Was kind of the catalyst for this because I have two kiddos and I can tell you from personal experience and the fact that I know I'm not the only one out there with kids, we are so excited that spring sports are coming to a close soon. And most of us live in parts of the country where it's just too hot to do sports in the summer anyway. So we get a little bit of a break. There's summer break coming up. Kids will be out of school. And believe it or not, despite what the general consensus is about young kids these days, most of us still don't want them to sit in front of an iPad or the TV all day during summer break. And again, Jen Garner recently, I saw this on social media and I loved it. And she said that she's pretty strict with her kids about social, and her kids are older now. You know, they're not young. So definitely old enough to where you wouldn't be shocked if they had a phone or they had all the things, but she tells her kids that they can have social media and screen time and things like that once they can show her articles that prove social media and screen time is good for kids. And I loved that so much. I was like, it was such a mic drop mom moment, if you can prove to me that this is good for you, then you can do it. Then you can have social media. But the whole point being, parents are very much open to getting book recommendations and ideas to keep their kids busy over the summer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just want their kids to keep reading. One, because, we're not selling anybody listening on the benefits of reading, but truly, like, parents still really pay attention to that, despite, technology and all the other things that they could be doing. Parents still very much love getting solid book recommendations for their kids. And so I just thought, what a great time to remind anybody that's written a book for young readers, anywhere from young kids to, young adult and even teens, that you have so many opportunities right now to get in front of your buyer market, in front of parents, and just kind of wave your arms around essentially virtually and say, hey, I've got a book here. It's going to keep your kid entertained. Take a second look, buy it. You won't be sorry,
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good idea. I think that we, I think it's a market segment that when summer shows, we always talk about summer beach reads, but I think it's something that we often, that authors often overlook.
Yeah, I think so too. Because again, we all, as a parent, I can say, like, we want to put our head in the sand, like, no, school's not going to be out soon, but it's literally right around the corner.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, how are we going to keep them busy,
right,
all day long? So the sooner you can get in front of parents and really sell them on a slam dunk, pitch for your book, the better, because we are hungry for ideas right now to keep kids busy. So we can be a very easy sell if you have the right approach,
Well, and I think that it's a good opportunity to do so. This is, and I'm just going to make this statement, regardless of how old your book is, if it serves a particular purpose, like let's say, for example, your book teaches some kind of a craft, or, it could just be a great summer read. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that specific, but you could very easily go out to mom bloggers and bookstagrammers and, using the summer break read for young readers idea. So you're not necessarily asking for a review, although you're not going to say no to a review or a feature or an excerpt, but trying to get a shout out, like, here is a way, if you want to, keeping your kids busy, getting them to read, learning a new craft, again, whatever, this is a great idea.
Yes. And to your point, Penny, I agree. I don't think the age matters as much as if you can sell your book on the relevance, then That is what people are looking for. And I would say definitely if you have a series, if you've written multiple books, my chatting with kids at book fairs and things like that, kids love a series. They are so easily, they're sponges. They're so easily trained to go back to the familiar. So I can tell you at the book fairs I've volunteered at, kids just eat up anything in a series. They're like, is that book here? Oh my gosh. They always want the next book in the series. So that's another one too. So it doesn't matter how old your book is. If it has something going for it, that's all that really matters. And yeah, even a social media shout out from somebody is all you're asking for. And a lot of these influencers are, like I said, parents are hungry for ideas. They're putting together lists, Penny, like, as you know.
Yeah.
Influencers love putting together lists because they love to be resources. And so even just getting your book a mention on a list of ideas or reads or things for your kids to do this summer could mean thousands of new impressions and traffic to your book. And then we've got a list of a few other things. Consider doing a special discount price for the summer kickoff, especially if you can back it up with some social media posts, an announcement in your newsletter, something like that to kind of bolster that limited time discount. So maybe you discount your book for the first half of June or something like that. It doesn't have to be a discount for the whole summer. You can, if you want to, if you're in a position to do that. But a limited time is always adds another layer of urgency and timeliness,
Yes, absolutely.
Letting parents know that your book is discounted for the first couple of weeks of summer break, is another great reason to shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, and this isn't necessarily, I know Amy loves it when I just sort of ad hoc my way through the podcast. This isn't necessarily on the list, but it occurred to me that, so when I was a young person, which of course was in the Stone Age, but when I was a young person, the last couple of weeks of school was just, it was a little bit of a free for all. The teachers were ready for summer break. We were ready for summer break. And our schools in particular had a lot of different fun guests that came in. Right. So we had this camping guy, and then we had, a couple of authors come in. I would think, and maybe things have changed, Amy, again, since that was such a long time ago, but I would think that it would be a good opportunity if authors really wanted to do any kind of a school event or do a reading or, whatever. The end of school year is a great time, right?
Oh, yeah. And we've talked about this, Penny, before, and working up something that really a great package or something like that. But teachers are also more than happy to take a pre-recorded video of you talking about,
right? Yeah.
Talking about your book, talking about what it means, giving them ideas for discussion questions, because essentially what you're giving the teacher is at minimum 30 minutes of time where his or her kids are engaged in doing something interesting. You've given them a break from the lesson plan and from keeping them busy, like Penny said, in the last couple of weeks where all their brains are just kind of haywire anyway. So those pre-recorded videos where you talk about everything that they can play when it's convenient for them. And then the teachers can take questions and send them to you later. You know what I mean? Don't discount what an impact you can make by pre-recording some content that you can give to teachers as well.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea. The other thing too is that if you are, and even if school is out, right, and you're too late to do the event or too late to do the pre-recorded stuff, your local media. So this is a really good opportunity for you to get out in your local media and talk about your book, right? Talk about the why kids love it, why it's a fun, whatever, why it would be great for a sleepover or, whatever it is. The local media, it's a great local angle for you too. Yes. So that's another thing. I love doing Amazon ads. I run the Amazon ads. You can definitely highlight your book depending obviously on the age of the reader. Amy, do your kids, without giving out obviously too many details, are the ebook readers or print book readers?
They honestly read both. I will say they kind of, obviously because of their age, they are still in elementary school. So their immediate access independently is to print books. But my older child, who is just getting out of fourth grade, has a Kindle that she reads off of. And so she definitely has ebooks that she reads because it's kind of nice at night, she'll sit there and read, and then she doesn't have to have the light on and wake up her sister. Really, it's all about keeping the peace.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But yes, absolutely.
So I wanted to ask that because I love doing Amazon ads, which I know, depending on how you've published, tends to tether to the ebook. But as we've always said, if the ebook and the print book are connected, the rising tide, which hopefully they are on Amazon, that's a different show. The rising tide floats all boats. So that's the other, that's sort of the other piece of this too, is that you can do some special promos. I mean, Amy, you run a lot of our BookBub ads and our Goodreads stuff. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. BookBub ads highlighting, again, we love BookBub ads. They're very intuitive to utilize, create. They have templates for you that are actually really impactful. So there's no reason not to use them. But calling out summer read, summer vacation read, things like that. I mean, just, again, parents are hungry for this. You just got to use the right words and get their attention easily, Right. It really is that simple. Same thing with the Goodreads giveaways. Also a great time to just get your book in more hands, because word of mouth, do a Goodreads giveaway, do it for print books, especially for kiddos. I would say if you can, because those print books end up in their rooms. They end up outside with them. Their friends see them. You know what I mean? Like There's really a lot to be said for just getting more books in hands, and Goodreads giveaways are great for those as well. And Penny, you mentioned Amazon, book descriptions are not a set it and forget it. We always talk about how you can tweak your book descriptions at different times of the year, depending on what's going on even in the news cycle sometimes. So don't forget to update your book description when there's something interesting you can highlight. So starting your book description by introducing your book as the perfect summer vacation read for kids. It's such a simple thing. But the more of those boxes you check off for the parents that are actively looking, the better, because it makes they can say yes a lot quicker,
Yeah, exactly. And then the other piece of it though, too, is that obviously, we're dropping this show at a time when your kids may already be out of school. Maybe it's too late to plan and do events, but many times local libraries have pop-up events and things like that that you could potentially do, do a book signing. We have here in my town on the 20th of May, we have our little yearly parade, which is really cute. And they have a craft fair. And I know for a fact, because I talked to a couple of the vendors last year, they said, oh yeah, we just let them know last week that that we wanted to come in. And they had several authors there actually who were, signing books, and a couple of them sharing a table and things like that. So any kind of summer events that you can do. Do you think, Amy, and this is a really random question I'm going to throw at you, so feel free to tell me to shut up. I love this when I just throw this stuff at. Are there particular types of books for young readers that you think would do well as summer reads, or does it not really matter?
Really dependent on the kid.
Got it.
Okay. My kiddos have, especially my older ones, I mean, we have a neighbor, and I actually gifted one of our authors' books to him, and he really enjoyed it. One of our authors that did a series, because he just loves epic, he loves to dig in. He loves the series. He likes thick books for kids. I mean, this kid's amazing. He is the ideal kid reader.
Okay.
Any author would love to get in front of. But I think and that's one of the things too, is that getting kids interested in reading is working with their personality type, working with their interests, So I really think it's fair game for anyone. But I love your local author reminder, Penny, because I can tell you that anytime I am out somewhere and a local author is selling books, especially kids' books, I buy it every single time.
Yeah.
I buy it every single time because it is such a cool experience for the kids. It gets signed. I mean, we have so many signed books from authors that the kids have gotten to meet. I think, I don't want anybody listening to discount what a cool experience that is for kids and adults alike, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely worth your time.
Well, and the other piece of it though too is that, again, even if you can't do, like, if the events are off the table, if the parade already happened, if the craft already happened, whatever, there are a lot of different places around town that have kid camps, like YMCAs, and different places that you could potentially leave some signed copies, maybe for them to resell, depending on, what. But I will tell you right now, we had an author, and this is a very different kind of situation, but we had an author a number of years ago, and she would go around and leave a few copies of her book in hair salons.
Mm-hmm.
She sold lots of books because you get done with your whatever you're doing and you're only maybe 5 chapters in the book. You're like, oh, I have to know how this ends. Right. Yep. So leaving books in, rec centers and sporting facilities, gyms, things like that, where they have activities for kids, or kids are spending a good amount of time, is a great way to get recommendations and get kids reading your book.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Penny. Rec centers, like gymnastics gyms, places where kids kind of get dropped off and left for multiple hours at a time because parents are like, yay, they are contained somewhere. Those kids need stuff to do while they're there. Even if they're there for a camp, there's still downtime, or there's still the occasional kid that just gets burnt out and needs a break. And counselors and coaches and things like that get that. So having something available at the facility where like, hey, why don't you go sit and read for a minute? Like, take a break, chill out. It's cool. That absolutely is that's a very real thing that happens. So having your book in those places for those kids to start reading and get into. And then when their parent picks them up, they're like, I need this book. I started reading this book. I want this book. Like, that is the best thing that can happen. And
yes, it absolutely is the best thing that can happen. And none of the stuff that we talked about, that we've talked about in the show, is time sensitive in terms of your book has to be new to be able to. Your book could be 5 years old, right?
Exactly.
As long and it is a great way. And maybe even at some of these events, some of these rec centers, some of these things. I mean, they might even be open to having you come in and do, read a few chapters for the kids and leave a couple of books behind or something like that too. So
yes, leave your book and your contact information. Very good point.
Yeah. So really, I'm so glad that we talked about this today. This is such a great idea. And I hope that it has inspired you. Certainly, I'm thinking about some of the authors that
I know, right?
I'm thinking about some of the authors that we've worked with over the last year. Like, oh, I need to get out to them and tell them, get your young reader book out into the hands of some of these hungry readers and desperate parents.
Yes, exactly. I am one of them. We exist. We want to be seen. Make it easy for us to find your book and buy it, because we're ready to start putting that list together of things we can put in front of our kids when they say they're bored. Like, look at all these great books and things we have for you to do.
Yeah, exactly. This was such a great idea for the show. Thank you so much for organizing and for coming up with the idea.
Sure. I know. And if any of you have books, please send us. We love hearing from you. Let us know about your great kiddo read.
Yeah. We especially, obviously, Amy's already put it out there that she's desperate for book titles. So here's another, we're going to get so many book recommendations. But yeah, and again, whether or not your book is new, it does not matter. None of this stuff matters. It's a great read. It's a great way to keep kids off of screens and immersed in reading, which we all need to do a lot more of. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show. This is Penny Sansevier. It's a great idea for a show, Amy. So Penny Sansevier and Amy Cornell, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.